Welcome to Cinema Bites. Your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The movie begins. In Mexico, at a clandestine illicit substance factory, a chemist injects the liquid he has just developed into a laboratory rat and realizes that when he returns the animal to its cage, it immediately begins to transform. In addition to its frightening appearance, the creature also takes on violent behavior and devours all of its cellmates. Disappointed with the results of his research, the man picks up the case containing the remaining substances and walks to his car. His plan is to keep it away from the criminal group that runs that factory. But before he can get into the vehicle, two men appear and attack him to take the syringes back. The next day, Manotas and Segas are crossing a lake and wear a special suit to protect their bodies from the corrosive properties of that water. Suddenly, they hear other guys approaching and see them throwing a body into the lake. The two men try to hide, but end up being caught by the criminals who, instead of eliminating them, decide to use the pair as guinea pigs to test the new hallucinogenic substance that the chemist has created. Within the first few minutes of the liquid being injected into their bodies, they show the same symptoms as any hallucinogen and start laughing for no reason. After making fun of Roberto's Asian nationality, Manotas ends up being shot in the head, after which Segas begins to shake all over. After suffering a seizure, the man perishes, and the criminals finally understand why the chemist tried to escape with the substance instead of selling it. So they get rid of the bodies, and soon they intend to contact their boss to present a report of everything that happened. The next day is Halloween, and Tavo decides to scare his mother. That morning, he enters the house with a mask and a knife in his hand, but the woman knows her son and was already expecting him to do something like that to scare her. After having his attempt thwarted, Tavo leaves home and goes to meet his best friend on the other side of town. To enter the Sarah Linda condominium, he has to cross a large wall and uses a vehicle parked on the street as a support to jump over. However, on his first attempt, the young man falls and has to ask for help from a boy sitting in the street to get to the other side. However, instead of helping him, the young man steals Tavo's sneakers and runs away, leaving the teenager with only a pair of socks. After crossing the wall, Tavo climbs a tree to observe Anna in her room. Since he was very young, the young man has been completely in love with her, but has never had the courage to confess his feelings. That day, he decides to find the courage to give her the love letter he wrote a few days ago, but his plans are interrupted when Tavo falls from the tree. Soon after, the young man is found by his friend, and as they walk through the streets of that neighborhood, Kronos spots a cockroach and faints. When he gets home, the young man is taken care of by his father, and Abraham says that if he remains fearful like this, he'll never find a girlfriend. As they walk down the street again, the two friends start talking about girls, and Tavo discovers that Kronos is also in love with Anna, his neighbor. Suddenly, the girl appears in a car with David and calls the pair to go to a party that night, but is stopped by her boyfriend, who says they weren't invited. As the couple leave, the two friends see Lalo across the street and go to talk to him. During the conversation, the pair discover that the man has just lost his father, and as he is his only close relative, he will have to organize the wake in his own home. The police said that Segas drowned in the lake while working, and Lalo mourns his father's tragic perishment. However, he has to work and lets the teenager stay at his house that afternoon to watch his DVD collection. While watching one of the movies, Tavo and Kronos are surprised by Segas, who is looking grim. As his skin has been corroded by the acidic lake water, the man is completely unrecognizable and slowly approaches the young men. Upon realizing the monster's presence, the pair run to hide in the warehouse, and Kronos soon comes to the conclusion that Lalo's father has been turned into a zombie. Suddenly, the creature manages to break down the door and grabs Tavo's neck. After his friend manages to free himself, Kronos takes advantage of the fact that the monster is trapped so that he can film it. However, Tavo pulls him out and they both manage to get out of the house unharmed. Meanwhile, Lalo is working at David's house, and the young man asks if he has any cigarettes to lend. Thanks to the young man's insistence, Lalo says he can go to his house to pick it up, and David asks Ari to go and look for the cigarette, as he is making preparations for the pre-party that will take place at his house. Minutes later, Tavo and Kronos appear and tell their friend that Mr. Segas has turned into a zombie. However, the man doesn't believe this story, as he's convinced that it's all just a Halloween prank. However, when he sees the video made by Kronos, the man is convinced that they are telling the truth and rushes back home because he is worried about Ari. When he arrives at Lalo's house, the young man starts looking for the cigarettes and is surprised by Segas, who knocks Ari down and starts devouring him. When he returns home, Lalo finds traces of blood scattered everywhere and soon comes across Segas. The man is completely dirty, and his appearance shows that he has already devoured his first victim. While Lalo tries to escape from his own father, Kronos rushes home and warns his family that there are zombies scattered around the condominium. However, Abraham thinks the young man is playing a prank and doesn't believe a word he's saying, not even agreeing to watch the video his son has recorded. So the young men decide to deal with the creature on their own and return to Lalo's house. With a melee weapon in hand, Kronos walks right behind his friend and, seeing a large amount of blood scattered on the ground, they come to the conclusion that Lalo has been devoured. As the house is empty, the pair begin to wonder where the zombies have gone and begin to suspect that they are on their way to David's house. The young man is organizing a Halloween pre-party at his house, and as zombies are attracted to noise, this is the most likely place where they could be. Tavo's plan consists of saving Anna and getting out of the house, so he tries to convince the girl that a real zombie attack is taking place while Kronos is expelled from David's house. When he sees Tavo next to his girlfriend, the young man is furious and orders him to stay away, but Anna reminds her ex that they have broken up and won't get back together until David stops being so egocentric. At that moment, Segas, Ari, and Lalo are walking the streets of the condominium looking for new victims, but no one is frightened by their presence because everyone believes they are in costume. However, it isn't long before Lalo attacks one of the residents of the neighborhood and shares the food with the other zombies. After being cornered by David and his guests, Tavo is accused of having gone there to rob the mansion, but Kronos defends him and orders him not to talk like that to his friend. Then, the young man says that everyone there is about to suffer a zombie attack, and Anna asks if they are hallucinating. As no one believes this zombie invasion story, the young men are kicked out of the mansion, but Regina and Johnny go after them. The two young people can't stand David either, and Tavo decides to abandon the idea of saving those people, since they don't want to be saved. However, Kronos won't allow him to give up, as he is determined to save Anna, since he is also completely in love with her. Meanwhile, the girl is arguing with her ex-boyfriend because she doesn't approve of the way he treated Kronos and Tavo. Suddenly, Loki, Regina's guard dog, breaks free from his collar and runs towards Lalo. However, before he could even attack the zombie, the animal is captured and devoured right in front of the children. Seeing Loki in danger, Regina tries to run there to save him, but is stopped by her friends, who pull the girl in the opposite direction. Quickly, the quartet runs to the mansion and hides behind the house, while Johnny tries to call the police but gets no answer. When he realizes that there are countless zombies scattered around the place, Tavo decides to try to warn the guests once again and takes Kronos' machete to defend himself. When he enters the house, he realizes that the music is attracting the zombies and strikes Ari when he tries to attack him. At that moment, the guests panic, so when they hear the screams, the couple run to see what's going on. Suddenly, David suffers an attack, and it's only then that Anna starts to believe what Tavo was saying. After leaving the mansion, they meet up with the rest of the group and all have to work as a team to get rid of those monsters. When Kronos is about to be bitten, Regina takes a chainsaw and rips out Aries' neck. Then the kids run to tell their parents and David wakes up. Now that he's turned into a zombie, he gets up to seek revenge. While hiding, the young people decide that whatever happens, they will not allow the zombies to leave the condominium, as this could cause the destruction of the entire town. So they split up to ask for help, and Anna accompanies Tavo to the entrance of the condominium to make sure the gate is locked. Meanwhile, one of the residents who was out for his morning run is attacked by the gardener and recruited as another member of the zombie army. When she meets the security guards who prowl the neighborhood, Anna asks for access to the security cameras and informs them that dozens of zombies are roaming the streets. Because of this, the guards need to close the gates to prevent these monsters from escaping. However, the two men are convinced that these are just teenagers having fun on Halloween and claim that the Sarah Linda condominium is completely safe. Suddenly, Segas appears behind one of the guards and manages to capture him. Realizing that the security room is surrounded, Tavo pulls Anna by the arm, and they both manage to escape while the security guards are being devoured. A few meters away, Kronos and Regina decide to ring Mrs. Vargas's doorbell in search of weapons. The woman is one of the richest criminals in the country, and when she hears those three children talking about a zombie apocalypse, she decides to ignore them completely. At this point, the couple are hiding inside a warehouse, and after grabbing some objects to defend themselves from the monsters, they decide to put their plan into action. While Tavo distracts the zombies, Anna tries to lock the gate, but a corpse is preventing her from locking it. So Tavo gets into a vehicle to drive over and uses his axe to chop off the security guard's head. After that, Anna manages to close the gate and attacks the approaching zombies with a tennis racket. The couple then escape in a golf cart and meet up with their friends. At that moment, Vargas is in a meeting with her employees and is furious to discover that she has lost all the investment she made in her merchandise. Terrified and afraid of being fired, Roberto tries to explain himself and reveals that, after injecting the guinea pigs with the new substance produced by the chemist, one of the men simply dropped dead. During the conversation, the woman hears her dog barking outside and decides to look at what's going on through the security cameras. When she realizes that the dog is in danger, she runs out of the mansion and sees Anna using her racket to attack the zombies. After catching the dog, the woman orders the children into her house and thanks them for helping her save the animal. Looking out of the window, the youngsters notice that the zombies are moving away from the house, and Kronos tells them that they are on their way to the Halloween party. Regina immediately calls her mother to alert her, but the woman is distracted by the party and doesn't hear her phone ring. So Vargas decides to help those teenagers save their parents and gives them some weapons to fight with. On their way to the party, Kronos finds the love letter that Tavo had written to Anna before the zombie invasion began and is furious. The young man feels betrayed by his best friend and receives a call from his father. However, he only hears some noises and the call is interrupted. Worried, Kronos decides to return home to check that his parents are all right, and Tavo says he will accompany him. However, he says he doesn't want the company of a traitor and goes on his way alone. While the rest of the team is driving to the club, Regina picks up a motorcycle that was parked in the street and decides to accompany Kronos. After getting on the back of the motorcycle, the young man begins to look at Regina in a different way and asks her out if they manage to survive the apocalypse. On the way to the club, Anna asks if Tavo has any feelings for her, and the young man says that, no matter what, they can never be together, as they belong to completely different worlds. When he arrives home, Kronos finds his parents and is relieved to discover that they have not been infected. While Sarah and Abraham ask their son to help them fix the TV cables, Regina receives a call from her mother and discovers that she is in the club's kitchen. The young woman then asks her not to leave and says she'll be there in 10 minutes. Seeing that Regina's mother needs help, Kronos decides to accompany her, and they both get on the motorcycle to head for the party. However, the path is blocked by a horde of zombies and Kronos risks his own life while trying to distract them so that Regina can get through. At that moment, Vargas and her men are guarding the entrance to the condominium and prevent a resident who is on his way to the Halloween party from entering Sarah Linda. While they are arguing, Loki appears and bites the man's ear, so Vargas is forced to shoot the dog. She then blows up her neighbor's vehicle to prevent him from transforming and going around infecting the townspeople. When they arrive at the door of the club, the young people discover that the place is already surrounded and decide to use their weapons to fight back. At that moment, Kronos has just arrived home and sees that his parents are about to be eliminated, so he uses his knife to cut off the heads of those monsters. The young man then orders his parents to lock all the doors and windows in the house and hide in the bedroom until all the zombies have been eliminated. After saving his family, Kronos goes to meet his friends and his future girlfriend. When she meets her mother and younger sister, Regina comes across two zombies and tries to draw her sword to eliminate them. However, the weapon gets stuck in its sheath and she ends up being saved by Kronos, who appears and eliminates the creatures. Just then, the group walks to the door and finds another monster in their path. This time, however, Regina manages to eliminate it with her sword and, seeing the girl in action, Kronos becomes even more enamored. Soon after, Johnny and Tavo show up and Regina asks her mother to take Victoria to a safe place while she and her friends take out those zombies. During the battle, Anna got separated from the rest of the group and now they have to find her. Before they leave the kitchen, Tavo asks his friend for forgiveness for having written a love letter to the girl. But Kronos says that he is now in love with Regina and doesn't mind if his friend and Anna stay together. By now, the zombies have invaded the party and are devouring the guests. So Tavo pulls out his pistol and starts shooting at them, but the bullets can't eliminate them. Just then, Johnny springs into action and shoots the creatures right in the head. They then run to lock the doors of the club and Anna turns off the sound. Seeing the girl in danger, Tavo opens the gates again and, with the help of his friends, manages to distract the zombies in order to reach Anna. As they try to destroy as many creatures as possible, Johnny's ammunition runs out and he ends up being surrounded. When they see their friend being devoured by zombies, the teenagers feel deep sadness and no longer have the strength to continue the battle. At this point, the group ends up being surrounded and everyone is about to suffer the same tragic fate as Johnny when Vargas appears with her men and orders the children to flee while they take charge of eliminating the zombies. After catching Vargas, who was trapped inside the truck, Tavo finds some grenades and decides to take them to Vargas while his friends go to safety. However, when he enters the club, he discovers that the criminal and her men have been surrounded and decides to set off the explosives. After removing the pin from one of the grenades, the young man jumps to the ground and his friends hear a huge explosion. Luckily, Tavo manages to escape without any injuries and is soon reunited with the rest of his team. Relieved, the teenagers hug each other and Anna ends up being bitten by Loki, the zombie dog. She immediately decides to take her own life, as she doesn't want to turn into a zombie. However, Kronos says that there may be a way to save her, but Tavo will have to suck the contaminated blood so that the virus doesn't spread to the rest of her body. Even though he knows that he could also end up being infected, Tavo decides to risk his own life to save her, which makes Anna even more fascinated by him. However, when he sees the dog that bit the girl, Kronos realizes that it is not Loki and that the animal is not infected by the virus. Relieved, the young people leave and wait for the police to arrive. While the firemen put out the fire caused by the explosion, Regina's mother tries to explain to the police that there has been a real zombie attack in the Sarah Linda condominium, but none of them believe her. After saving the planet from a zombie threat, Regina accepts Kronos' proposal, and he decides to accompany her home. Now that they are finally alone, Anna and Tavo can declare how they feel about each other. If you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.